we've heard concerns about the calculated grade system from other TDs and senators. For me, yes, there was a few faults in the calculated grade system, and of course, given that it was done in such a short period of time, and given that everybody was underneath pressure, if I look at a lot of working class areas, young people in working class areas were able to reach their full potential. So, in my opinion, it's not all bad news. You know, for example, one young woman in Ballyfermot, actually I think there were a few young women in Ballyfermot that got 600 points. Their teachers graded them at the level that they know them of and the level that these young people reach their full potential. These are bright young women who will go on to be leaders in their own community and will go on to better our society. I would also like to say, if we look at some of the issues or the flaws, if you want, within the calculated grades, in my opinion, it's an example that the Leaving Cert assessment and how it's done is not an equal starting footing for any young person within the education system. So I think, if anything, it's shown there was always a fault in the Leaving Cert exam, how it was done. It's the simple truth: the majority of traveller children in my community do not complete second-level education. More than that, many studies has shown higher grades and good degrees. Depends on money and investment in a child over time. Look, in the middle of a pandemic, if we look at, say, Halton sites, if we look at people's accommodation, homelessness, people who's living in direct provision, access to laptops, people in rural Ireland, young people in rural Ireland not having access to broadband, I wouldn't mind laptops. We have to take all this into account going forward. We're talking about young people's mental health. We're talking about young people's well-being. Again, I think there's one solution for this, and you all might think I'm a bit crazy for saying it, but I'll say it anyway. I think this year, going forward, that now we have an opportunity to make the Leaving Cert more starting off at an equal footing for all young people in Ireland. And last night I was speaking to a vice principal of a school, and she believes that it should be an assessment based. If I was measured on my academic ability, trust me, I wouldn't be here today. And one of the teachers also said to me last night on the phone, if I was to look at you, Eileen, from your academic ability, I would never pictured you being in the House of the Oireachtas and never getting. She said, I learned from you as a student and how we have to go forward believing in students. We must look differently at our Leaving Cert, at our Leaving Cert and how it's done. And we're talking about pressures. There's one way for to settle all these pressures, and listening to deputies and to other senators, it's, in my opinion, would be better if we were to do a continuous assessment. What are we doing to address the inequalities when we are assessing students and their performance? Now, that's down to accommodation, down to resources for young people as well. So I think there's a bigger picture that we're not speaking about here today. But again, I'd like to thank you, and for young people in working class areas, I'm really happy with the calculated grade system.